and the road. There's a car coming. There's a car coming.
Till the bells all seem to say, throw cares away, Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and noble, ding dong a dong, that is their song, will fill the week, all caroling, one seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, oh, hill and dale, telling their song, daily they ring, one beat, a sense to me, 6 feet away, I go.
Mansion is part of a bigger estate. The point where the current Western Road roundabout clears the series of these buildings that were rebuilt.
This is the Rothschild building in the 19th century, late 1500s.
Fascinating book. To make a fair impression, as you know, this is the stables. Architecturally, you know, this is to somebody and others. So here we are in the planned Bridgeman landscape, with the last remnant of the avenue here, and you can very much see how well hidden the road is. You can see the flat roof of the public toilets and the car park beyond, but the road itself is gone. The width through until we get to that window that's got the semicircular pediment above it. Got this great width into the house. All work of the 1880s. Most of them you'll find that they are just very, very square bricks that have been very, very well laid. Perhaps a little mechanical. The road used to go past that side. So in the life of this house, the front door was over there, it later moved over there, and finally moved around here. But this retains the dimensions of the original entrance into the house as designed by Christopher Wren. However, what we are looking at here is not Christopher Wren, we're looking at James Gibbs of the 1710s or 20s. Very Palladian door case in very Roman inspired, possibly oak, as that's what we seem to have it here, which is really unusual. I have to say, when I first saw it, I thought this was something that the Rothschilds brought in the 19th century. But if you believe Gervais Jackson Stocks in his Country Life article, what we have here is a carved marble fireplace as designed.
This is a Gibbs fireplace.
And then come into the middle of the house and you suddenly open up. Partly that's a good bit of architectural trickery. And wow, aren't I being clever, boys? So you've got one pile of rooms that's facing that way, one pile of rooms that's facing that way. It was arranged. It never had the central lantern on the roof that was bringing light down through the centre. So to get lighted, also look at them where the this is
17th century staircase.
Not done entirely randomly. It's not perhaps quite as elaborate as it could have been because there's only one barley twist per tray. Yes, yeah. Horribly old-fashioned. Oh, it's dreadful.
This is not Christopher Wren.
Oh, we really can't have that. We can just about put up with the panel, roaring of what was existing. Did he sort of think, well, there's an enormous void up here. What's going on in this void? And was there a moment when somebody cut through the ceiling and poked their head? Or did they decide, we're going to make a really splendid late 19th century space here. We want it to echo, and it definitely echoes, the panelling here, which is late 17th century, so we'll do the same. And then to the highest standard, and look at all of this inlay of metal and mother of pearl there is, as well as the wood, on these columns. They also rotate, I'm not going to attempt it, but they rotate and have light fittings, original 1880s light fittings in them. The plain panels in the centre of each of these bookcases were intended for pictures to be hung. Very much a family that are collecting and are having things brought to them. And so, as such, you can imagine some dealer outside of Frankfurt coming across these from a church which is being altered in the 1870s or 80s and thinking, I bet I can flog that to a Rothschild.
The fake doorway behind the books.
Particularly in rooms that are trying to give an appearance of being 16th or 17th century. This stamped leather was a Spanish speciality, was something that was imported as a sort of rare foreign luxury in the, particularly something to make a room appear older. It also is there to affect this being a masculine room. This was as a study for Nathaniel Rothschild.
This is a jib door with the bookcase. Doesn't the bottom half door? It opens the door to the Christopher Wren room.
Was planned out because in the alterations, possibly in the later 18th century or possibly in the 19th century, you have the wall that used to run here being removed because that's the original front door. You came into a hall space that was the same size as the hall space that we came into, and then to this side was a separate reception. We're 1880s here. Although possibly the roundels that are in the corners of the centre may be 18th century. It's spurious, really, for the arrangement of the house. These are definitely not Christopher Wren. It was Henry Guy, when he builds the house, coming to the position as a prominent member of the court, somebody who would like to expect that he's going to receive royalty. You go and have private conversations with no servants, nobody else present, which you would typically find in a late 17th century house at the end of a great enfilade of rooms, where you have room after room. This is being a relatively small house, which you all felt that as you came in, it's quite small houses. You don't have a whole series of rooms leading up to a state bed chamber and then the closet beyond. What we do have...
What, you'd have a bed chamber on the ground floor?
Absolutely where you'd expect it.
No?
Absolutely. And indeed, the opposite corner of the house to this, the other side of that big saloon, was bed chambers into the 20th century. It's exactly what you'd expect. I thought, oh, the Rothschilds got some damn fine people in, because it looks to me so French. But I suppose that's really because we're starting to get
here. Dining room at the front of the house, the new front that is.
Here again, we've got a room that's a bit of a match of all sorts of interesting styles going on.
Ceiling.
But I'm not as convinced by it. It is a bit clunky, and also the cornice. It has this sort of almost strapwork device running around it. The sort of thing that you would find on a early 17th century piece of carving. So I think that this is probably a Rothschild period, a late 19th century ceiling that's put in the manner of. The French love these coloured marbles, particularly the reds and whites. Also one of the things which quite possibly some visitors to this house may well have looked at and rather turned their nose at as evidence of the Rothschilds or the Nouveau Riche characters. It had to be close to the kitchens, although there was a very convoluted route between, and I forget which of these doors is
service doors,
which leads into a cupboard, which is not at all unusual to maintain symmetry. And you've got a very typical shape for a dining room to accommodate a long table down the centre. A typical shape for a dining room of the later 18th century or 19th century, because in the earlier 18th century or the 17th century when this house was first built, dining rooms weren't quite so fixed. Also, if you're looking at the windows, you can see one of the problems of improved technology. You've got a great view because you've got Victorian plate glass. This makes the window very heavy, because for that piece of glass to work, this was built as a living room. Again, as a masculine room, you have hard surface walls so that they don't take up the smell of the tobacco smoke. And what could be harder surface than covering it in marble. And I do not know of another room in England that has been panelled out with marble in bas relief like this, in this low level relief, and then with this over the fireplace. Leopold at Ascot with the Venus fountain there. And you can find other examples of all those stories work in England. You can find it at Clifton, you can find it at Blenheim. But not this sort of interior work. And I would love it if there was something to turn up to sort of give us a bit more of a clue as to how the whole thing was achieved. What I suspect might have happened was that Nathaniel might have bought this piece. Possibly, I don't know if he visited Rome, possibly visiting Rome and seeing it, possibly seeing it in one of the international physicians, which there are a number of international shows in the late 19th century. Victory on the ship is something you really more expect to see perhaps on the side of a Victory monument. I wonder if it's something which he had made on steps, to send to exhibitions, expecting to get commissions for Victory monuments of one sort or another, and instead finds that it's bought by a wealthy English banker, who then says, I don't know what to do with it, but I think we're going to do something with a billiard room. Come and, let's have some ideas. And so they come up with this scheme of panelling around, all very classical, and in true classical form, of course, there are lots of very scantily clad young ladies. There are some over there with the opening shell and the young beauty stepping forth. This made me understand why they didn't flatten what was here and then rebuild it further back to the park.
He's talking about the Rush
I'm very glad that they didn't, because we get some of Wren left. And it's then also interesting that they're building up on it pretty much existing foundations here. This billiard room with bachelor's bedrooms above very much follows the footprint of the existing winter garden. And it can't have been because they were short of cash. And it doesn't appear.
We don't know where the marble comes from.
If it was just pink granite, we'd assume Scotland, but no. Right, we'll wend our way back to the front door, have a brief walk around the exterior, and then go back to down.
Oh, this is all new to me. It's fantastic. It's open, it's a rescue house.
Library end.
This is the big window on the end of that big saloon that we were in. This is where the late 18th, earlier 19th century entrance to the house was.
The servants' quarters are behind here. The original front. Original road ran past here. This, of course, is the original front of the house.
And there are also cellars coming out.
Basement is underneath the terrace.
The gardens. So as it was originally conceived, there was an open space between the house and the basement exposed, a sort of a trench all around the house, and then on the garden side of the trench, cellars excavated underneath the garden. And then that's the billiard room that we were in, with the
Billiard room at the end. Original basement. This is at the front of the house, where the servants' quarters were. St Peter and St Paul's Church in Tring.
monument to Sir William Gore. So Gore buys Tring Mansion from Guy, the original builder, apparently with the intention of founding a dynasty that's going to be here for century after century, and that's sort of shouted by the size of this monument and the quality of it. Generally thought that it's carved by Van Nost, and it was originally up in the chancel. It's later moved here, so it was originally in as far as the church is concerned, in a better position. And you see that there. Could you just give us a hint where she was hanging from?
Modest.
Yes, modest, right. Very died 3rd of August, 1765. Right. This is the third generation of Gores. This is the son of the Gore that actually did the work to create the landscape and got Gibbs to do those nice plaster ceilings, etc. to the house. But not living here. So he is marrying the daughter of a baronet. That's what the Bart after the name signifies. So it's a hereditary knight. But the vernacular suggests that he is somebody who's probably not that far removed from the trade, it sounds like. So yeah, you can start to sort of pick up a bit more. If there isn't really space for us all to go and see, but if you go up into the chancel on the left-hand side behind the organ, you can see a monument to one of the Kays that owned the house in the 19th century, and again, a useful bit of information. Thank you very much.
This is another Gore monument, not quite so elaborate. Rose and Crown, again fake Rothschild 15th century copy, put back from the old coach's house near the Winding Road. We were actually standing in the old marketplace. There was a market hall and council hall here originally before it was demolished and the road widened. The home of Alfred Rothschild, son of Lionel.
5 Rothschilds that came to this, who was sent by the original Rothschild to go around this country. And Newcourt, which is where the bank is, has been there since. Yeah. So there's sort of the history of the people that were here. But outside that glass door, there is an incredibly heavy wooden door, because if he wasn't here, as you can just about move here.
Built by Cubits, apparently, 1880 odd.
But I can't.
And was the architect, was it the same as Wadston?
No, Wadston was Stallion or something.
Yes,
yes. Rodriguez did here and Tring, the adjustments to Tring.
Right. Any idea of the cost when it was built?
No, we can't find any big argument as to when it was all happened, and I actually found an article that said when it was done.
Sorry, when was the gold painted over?
About 85. Some photographs that was taken by a Victorian photographer called Ben.
Silk walls.
When we went round Tring,
The original.
Yes.
Sliding doors, look at that.
Oh, yes.
This is a smoking room to the right of the entrance.
£1,000 then. It's probably about 1.6.
Yes,
that's
fantastic.
It's very much.
That was quite a trend, though, wasn't it?
That was the trend, yeah. That was the 15 chefs here, plus the kitchen. But he lived to 75, so he did quite well. And also there was always a doctor.
Members of the royal family
There's always some there.
actually going up to Victoria
To go in the recess and doors
at the end there.
Is now became a dining room. And the dining room had a very simple
There was a fireplace here.
fireplace. And it was only last year we realised, because I started doing the archives.
Great example of Victorian ornateness.
Taken over the years. So you end up with this little nucleus of where are they, what are they? And I kept coming with this fireplace and thinking, it's not in the house, where is it? Ended up visiting Waddesdon, and they had one box. Is anyway.
These are security doors on the windows.
The original heating system, probably new boilers, but the original heating system was.
Billiards room now.
Right. On a handshake, Alfred allowed Kitchener to train his soldiers here, knowing war was coming. So old pictures show there is one room you'll see the number of tents and soldiers who were training here. And another time, if you're interested, they have now renovated the training trenches that they used. I'm not taking you around because it's too wet, too cold, and very, very slippery. And also, it's even though they've been renovated, it actually is quite eerie when you go around them. But there was army. It was army who were here. And
living in the house as well.
There were army officers, yes, I believe. And also there was a comment I found somewhere that the higher army people got a bit cross because Alfred would send them better food down and they got their rations. But anyway, and there is a photograph of Alfred going round as well, except it's a lady with him, and I have actually told them at the archives that when it's written it is not his wife because he never married. But anyway, so over the course of the war, the army was here, and Lionel and I think about 1917 there were sort of waves about buying the estate.
So that was Lionel, the nephew, who
the
loaned
nephew,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
And of course, the handshake was the myth is that it should be returned to the Rothschilds as it was in 1913. Anyway, they realised that they got a good thing here, and also there was the start of there had been the Royal Flying Corps. Lord Trenchard was starting the Royal Air Force. They needed somewhere to train their technical engineers, and the then War Ministry bought it for £112,000. Whatever that, I've seen various comments. It could be a few million, it could be 30 million, and it became a Royal Air Force until 1906. With officers, there's about 75 officers live in the house. So it is. I know it looks empty now, but if we were here till 12. Couldn't leave because people come up for lunch, and that's why we tend to do morning and afternoon as well. And they had a daughter, Almina, who, even though illegitimate, caught the eye of the Earl of Carnarvon, and Alfred paid a dowry of £500,000, plus paid off Carnarvon's debts. And she went.
Must have been an enormous
£500,000 was the dowry,
Yeah.
and she went to live at Highclere. And of course, it goes on to Tutankhamun, the founding, and the fifth. She married the fifth Earl, and we believe that at the time Highclere needed a lot of renovation, so probably Alfred's money paid for Highclere's renovation, and he also paid for the finding of Tutankhamun. The other thing is that Almina was left his London house, which he probably sold about in the 1920s. And the London house was roughly where Curzon Street comes out there. It was pulled down to make room for the exit of Curzon Street into Park Lane, apparently. And there was quite a few Rothschild houses there, which aren't there anymore. I think, was it last week we were showing one? Yes. So she went off to Highclere, but she had an interesting history. That after Carnarvon died, she remarried, and there was a big court case because the gentleman she married promised his ex-wife that he would pay his alimony when he had some money, and there was a big court case because they tried to get out of it, which they did. And she lived to about 92, and apparently founded nursing homes. And also, the story about Highclere being a nursing home is true because that's what happened. And this house was also used for the filming of Downton Abbey for some of the scenes. So this room, the publisher that Lady Mary was going to marry, this was his office. And when he takes her around the house that he's going to buy her, she's out walking around the sun. And we've had
The cornice is plaster made to
just
look
having
like
little
wood.
bits. So one of the things about all the houses, he's really put a stamp on the house with the 5 arrows everywhere, and also the stairs. And each room, sometimes when we go around, I find another amazing. But that's the little things, it's a bit like your own house. You sometimes do absolutely necessary. So it was the
original dining room, this is.
lovely pictures of that. In fact, let's talk about that some. 60
Dining room has become a bar.
The fireplace is the one that was in That's the fireplace. And it offers 2.
This is a Reynolds and Lady Danfield.
It's now in the Tate, and I discovered it's not on display. So it used to be there in the original.
A Reynolds
And
portrait.
then, of course, there's the copper frame.
This is the fireplace that was in the entrance hall.
Yeah. Somebody's been taking it up. And there's a fountain down the bottom there, and then there's an Italian garden. If anyone comes across old photographs, you never know what you find renovated. I don't know what with, but you can't renovate in its original because it's been a bar store all these years. It's still got this. But also his.
Surely checkers would have been quite secure.
I don't know why, but that's, but
Because I was saying what you'd said to me, and my husband was saying, but surely Checkers would have been quite
It's more
similar.
known, wasn't it? Checkers was known.
Yes.
Checkers was known.
Yes,
And
that's
also
what we were
you
talking
can,
over,
yeah, and I know, I also find it, my husband said he's flown over Checkers, nobody stops you flying over Checkers.
Yes, my husband's prosecuted people walking on Checkers land because they'd wandered off the
Yes,
hotel.
yeah.
It's
Is the hot
very
air
steep.
balloon landed in
Sorry?
Checkers? A hot air balloon landed in Checkers.
It's very quick, the police soon pop
Yeah,
along.
yes. But also, I think with Checkers originally was classed as a private house, so that it's only been since David Cameron's been there that they've actually had press conferences there. Any press conference has usually been here,
Yeah.
because friends have rung me up and said, oh, Bolton's on the news because Putin's at the bottom of the stairs or Blair's at the bottom of the stairs. So they've used this instead. It's actually only since there's twice I've said to my husband, why is he doing a press conference at Checkers? I thought it was a private house. So, you know, but it's used, it's sort of, you come one day and you think, oh, who's that? Who's that? Okay, fine. But because it's so close to London, it's, and they can get away. It's like having an away, people go and have their away day training, don't they?
Yeah.
People have peace and quiet. Anyway, that's...
It's quite a dark room, isn't it?
It is actually,
Yes.
Apparently Norman Tebbit stayed here after the Brighton bombing while his wife was at Stoke Mandeville. And it's used as a secure house for press conferences and things like that for heads of state. This is the gentleman's side of the house here. The first side, the right-hand side when you face it, is the ladies' side. Crystal Palace in this picture.
As you can see,
That's Alfred.
Air Force, and
Lord
then
Trenchard
and
founded
they
the Air Force.
became very much pro commercial flight.
Sir Edward Grey's passport. Not sure where he comes into it.
And again, I'm not sure, I'm certain it was at Gloucester. For
It
years
says
and
it's
years.
Princess Mary.
It's not.
That's what it says on
No, no, we've got to change it because I was going to say it hung in the nursing officer's mess that was pulled down finally about 2 years ago, 3 years ago when they started the building.
She was the King's sister-in-law. George
Yes,
the
but
Sixth's
this is-
sister-in-law.
but this
She was
is-
married to Harry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's underneath.
It's the Winter Garden.
And I can never remember Steve.
The glass door comes out of that gap there.
Pictures around, and it was just again very beautiful.
To shut off the window.
Either live in the main
Next door's the
house
living
or
quarters.
The rooms
30
aren't basic.
officers
It
live
is
here
not-
apparently.
It is not
This extension was built
it's
in
not
1935.
any stretch of the imagination.
Ladies' boudoir.
In front, right through. And there's a lovely picture of a table with a bowl
Now with a billiard table.
One of the original bits.
This is the reading material.
Sue's got one piece of slate.
The other interesting thing is the fireplace.
And a collection of the day's newspapers. All about the budget.
Whether it did or not.
Up to the sun. This is the house as it was originally built.
When it first.
And you can see the Winter Garden on the right there.
Army here.
There's Kitchener's Army.
Yeah.
Kitchener's soldiers at this house in 1914.
But there is one. Oh, it's such fun.
Yeah.
Topical headline from the Sun.
And the more you get into it, the more.
Here's another version of the same thing.
Yeah. And I think in
Downton Abbey was filmed here. Behind here is Alfred's
If
bedroom.
you saw that, what's it, the Bollywood.
Plaster supported by wire.
So did they
They
have
have
drapes
curtains,
there?
they have
Oh,
curtains
right,
there.
yes.
Touch it, it's hanging on
If you touch it, can you not blow it? We got some renovated people, but we...
Used to have air shows here apparently.
There's the Queen's here, Westminster Market.
Passing out parade every 2 weeks. This is the current dining hall, clearly an addition. This house, built in the 1880s, I think it was,
It's built in three years. These huge mirrors. You see the sliding doors there at the arch on the right, and of course this is a mirror here on the left, and you're looking back at the other end of this great hall. Mirrors and doors. And here is the suggestions book. They're wanting a high ratio of Times or Telegraph to the Mail or the Express. 5th of March 2012. Military Public Affairs, whoever they are.